to start?
Yeah, you can provide your speech, overall summary, situation, what's going on in what's developments in DC, current developments in Armenia, and your summary, your view, what's doing NDA, what's the targets, where we are going, and then we will switch to question answer approach.
Great. So can everyone hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Well, I just want to say, so as our my good friend has said, I will give some preliminary remarks, an overall overview, and then I hope we could spend most of our time having a question and answer, having a direct conversation, because I'm eager to listen to your questions and learn from you as well and explore topics of interest. So I just want to say what an extraordinary honor it is to be here. This office, which I'm visiting today for the first time, is a testament to what NDA has achieved in a short period of time and under very difficult circumstances. It is an honor to represent NDA in Washington for a few years now, and it's really been something in which I not only feel like a lobbyist, but a fellow comrade, a fellow brother, part of the NDA family and the Armenian family. As many of you know, I have a Greek background, and that was always an incentive for me getting involved, because I feel that Greeks and Armenians were fellow brothers and sisters. So it's been just a tremendous pleasure to be involved in your cause. You have such great people. When I first helped bring Colonel George into Washington, it was a life-changing experience for me, and all the NDA leaders and council members, George Safilian, Ara Papian, Vahe Gasparian, all these tremendous people are extraordinarily impressive individuals. And I have to say, I think we should all be proud of the people that we have representing us in the NDA and what we've done. And I think what we've done in Washington is a testament to the leadership and the vision of NDA and the cause of NDA, which is one that I believe in having a free, independent, and sovereign Armenia, and one that is pro-Western, which is also in the interests of the United States. But NDA is the first really Armenian interest to engage in a systemic advocacy in Washington, D.C. through a professional lobbying firm. There have been engagements in the past through diaspora groups in the United States, but those have mainly been focused on the genocide issue. With NDA, this is the first time that you've really had political figures in Armenia engaging directly in Washington about U.S.-Armenia relations, about security, and other issues pertaining to the Republic of Armenia. This has really never been done before. Even if you look at the past 30 years, the amount of times that leaders in the Armenian government have even visited Washington is very few. So what NDA has done in the past less than 2 years has been revolutionary. We've built many alliances and relations in Washington with congressmen and senators, many of whom now support NDA and the NDA message. I've received many positive messages from U.S. officials about what NDA stands for, and we've taken the message to the highest level. And now I think we're in the coming months to come, we're going to see more and more the fruits of our efforts, because again, this is the first time that we've been engaging in an endeavor of this nature. Many of the members of Congress we met with were generally familiar with Armenia, but just from the genocide point of view. Most of the people who we met with told us they never had anyone approach them to talk about U.S.-Armenia relations or security in Armenia or these sorts of issues. So for many of these officials, this is the first time that they're being introduced to this more nuanced message. And so we've had to put in a lot of effort to reduce the knowledge gap within Congress and the administration and the policy and decision makers here in Washington. But now we've worked very hard at that the past 2 years, and I think now we're going to see a lot of results coming out of this. There's some very specific issues that I know you care about that I've received messages about from NDA supporters. For example, the issue of Radio Liberty, Radio Free Europe, and the fact that their coverage has been problematic, shall we say. That's an issue that members of Congress know about. And that's an issue they're working on, and I'm hoping we'll come to a solution to that in the coming months. It'll take a little bit of time because we're dealing with a U.S. government bureaucracy, but that issue is being addressed, and I'm confident that we could solve that. Also, of course, issues of police brutality by the Armenian government. We want to make sure that our government here in the United States deters the Pashinyan regime from engaging in any sort of violence or police brutality against anti-government protesters, whether they be NDA supporters or other people as well. The Armenian government under Pashinyan should not be engaging in authoritarian tactics, which unfortunately they are. And we've, I think, tried to dispel what I believe is the myth of the so-called reformist Pashinyan. Many people are now beginning to realize that this is nonsensical, frankly. Whatever he's been selling. So we have specific issues that we're trying to resolve and that we're targeting, and I'm hopeful for. And I think now we have an opportunity with the new Congress, the new administration. There's an opening now where we could have significant changes in State Department policy and administration policy, and we're currently engaging in influencing those policies. So I think there's enormous opportunity these next few months to, I think, move things in a direction that we want to see. And it's something I'm hopeful about, especially in conversations that we've had very recently. I've brought Vahe Gasparian and Ara Papian to Washington, and we had a very successful visit with senators and Congress people, right before the inauguration of now the new administration. So I know Armenia is under a very challenging time, but I think with the leadership of NDA and good people like yourself, we can provide a corrective, and we could be the solution to all of these problems that we're facing, and try to do something constructive. And I just want to say, it's been an honor to be in your presence. I made so many friends. Also, I want to give a special shout out to my partner in Washington, Dr. David Gregorian. I would be remiss for not mentioning or highlighting him. He's been in many ways your unofficial ambassador, if you will, in Washington. He's someone who helps manage our lobbying efforts. He's the one who works with our lobbying firm and myself on a day-to-day basis. And he's someone who cares so passionately.
Behind
the doors. David and I are, 11 o'clock at night on having phone calls about, okay, what are we going to do here? And, he cares so much, and he's put in so much work. And he was critical in making this happen. And, I'll be honest with you, a lot of people, when NDA first established this, were shocked, because there's never been a situation previously where an Armenian interest group has ever hired a lobbying firm. NDA was the first one to do it. So this has really shocked a lot of people, and I think NDA has created a revolution and how things are done in Washington. And I know because of what we've done, it's caused huge conversations even within the broader Armenian community in terms of, hey, should we approach Washington differently? Should we do things differently now that we see what NDA is doing? So, beyond just the issues within Armenia, I think what we're doing is also having broader repercussions, even here in the Armenian American diaspora, as to, hey, should we rethink the way that we're approaching issues in Washington, have new approaches, be more creative, and so forth. So, again, I just want to say what an honor it is to be a part of your cause. It's so exciting to see so many of you, many of whom I've communicated with for some time on social media, but I've never seen in person. So it's an honor to meet all of you, and I look forward to meeting many more of you in the future. And I'd be delighted to have a conversation and take any questions and so forth. So thank you again.
Thank you, Elias. Okay, let's move to question section. If anyone needs to translation, be free. You can ask question in Armenian, and translation will be. Yes. Feel free to ask any.
Yeah. In your opinion, what was the reason for declassifying the State Department's document about Merli?
Well, yeah, we just spoken about that. I've not had the chance to thoroughly research that, so I want to study that before making an opinion. I've not had the chance to.
Yeah. Basically, they declassified the documents about what transpired between Turkish government, Armenian government, and the United States government, and it was a secret document. And suddenly, a week ago, something like that, just came out. They declassified that document. Now it's obvious who was that they were lying. Kocharian was lying. Oskanya was lying. Everyone was lying.
Right, right. So what I would say is, again, I'm just being honest. I've not had the chance to carefully study that, and I want to give you an informed opinion. What I will say is this: we have a new administration. There are changes, unlike what we've seen before, in terms of there mass resignations within the State Department and within other government agencies, and that's not a bad thing. That could become a very good thing for us in terms of because a lot of the old school State Department officials, for example, some of them are pro-Turkic, some of them have kind of an old school mentality. If we have new blood, I think that could be very beneficial to us. And we're trying to be, provide our input. So what I would say is, regardless of whatever the motivations for the release of that document, and I really want to study that more carefully, I think the administration is reviewing their foreign policy goals for all countries, and they're currently in the process of reviewing what their policy should be. And so, considering we're in the very early stages of the Trump administration, I believe they're still thinking about what their policy towards Armenia and the Caucasus should be, and we want to try to influence their thinking on that policy. So that's what I would say to them.
Once again, I would like to welcome you and thank you for all your efforts that you put in for our cause. And I would like to know if you try to work with Trump administrations and if you talk to them about senators and Congress people. What are their views about Pashinyan regime, and what they think in general? Who's Pashinyan? Is he a reliable partner, or what are their what do you understand from that meetings about their views?
Right. What I would say is we want to work very closely with the Trump administration. Many of the officials in the areas that would cover Armenia, which would be in the State Department's Bureau of European and Eurasian Affairs, those officials have not been appointed yet. So it's empty. But we're working closely with many members of Congress who have a lot of influence vis-a-vis President Trump. So we're working very closely with members of Congress that have influence over President Trump. And I'm also in preliminary contact with some senior State Department officials. What I would say is I think there's at least an open mind with the people, with the new administration. I'm not sure if they have an opinion yet, frankly. And I think that could come to our advantage because we can provide them a new set of facts. Mm-hmm. I think, unfortunately, I'm now being very frank, with some of the previous officials, many of whom have now resigned with the new administration, some of them, I think, officials, working in the U.S. Embassy in Yerevan, and also some of the people in our State Department, again, who are leaving, and I think it's that's a positive. Unfortunately, fell for the Pashinyan propaganda in 2018 that he was a reformist and trying to do something positive. So unfortunately, some of the previous officials in the Biden administration were fooled by this propaganda that Pashinyan was trying to propagate. But I think things will be completely different now. We're going to have a completely new team, and I think we can persuade them as to what the reality is. So I'm very optimistic about having a new perspective amongst State Department officials and other relevant agencies, National Security Council, towards what is Pashinyan. So I don't think, to be honest, I don't think they have a fully set view, but that's good. It's better to have a tabula rasa than
Give them that view.
Yeah, we're going to give them the view. So that's my answer. We're going to give them the view, and it's better to have someone who's tabula rasa, where they're flexible, they're open, you can persuade them, versus they have a viewpoint that's totally wrong, right? So I'm optimistic for what we can achieve in the coming months with the new administration. Yeah, my friend.
Again, we welcome you. You are the most welcome person in our community, Elias.
Thank you.
We know each other for a long time. My question is, because Trump just elected and is not predictable, his future, the way, political way. My question is, how is going to react, or how is going to do about dictators in the world? Because he has some proposals about world construction, all that stuff. Armenia right now is surrendered by dictatorship countries, Azerbaijan, Turkey, and Russia. And also the prime minister of Armenia also is dictator. So in your opinion, how is that is going to affect further political line of Trump if he start, let's say, fight for dictatorship around the world?
Right.
Your opinion?
Yeah, well, again, I think there's that X factor, if you will, with President Trump. But I think, the fact that he's someone who is unusual in the sense of getting involved in terms of some of these personal decisions, and someone who believes in interpersonal interactions, it could work to our benefit, again, if we try to influence him in the right direction. And even in the case of President Erdogan, I remember when there was the issue of Pastor Brunson, President Trump told him directly, "I'll destroy your economy if you don't release Pastor Brunson," and the pastor was released very shortly. So I think if the right arguments can be given to Trump, that he could be persuaded to go in the right direction. And again, I know that looking at some of of his former tweets, the president has some interest, especially because the president is surrounded by a lot of the people in the evangelical community, Christian community, Armenia being one of the oldest Christian civilizations. I think there's a lot of sympathy amongst the people around Trump who are viewing Armenia in the context of ancient Christianity and preserving that piece of ancient Christianity in the Middle East. And so I think if we can influence the advisors around Trump, I was told in my meetings in Congress that a lot of the people around Vice President Vance are also very sympathetic to Armenia from the point of view of preserving Christianity in the Middle East. So I think, if we can influence Trump in the right direction, the fact that he is willing to deal on an interpersonal level with some of these dictators could be to our advantage, in the sense of he could just pick up the phone to Erdogan or to Aliyev and tell them, "Hey, knock it off, or else I'm going to do X, Y, and Z to you." So we just need to make sure that the president has the right information that we will be providing, and working closely with his advisors to push him in the direction of using the leverage he has with these other leaders in a positive way. So that's what I would say to that. Also, what I would say too is personnel is policy, and I think he's picked some very good people that I think will be sympathetic. So, for example, the case of Marco Rubio, the new Secretary of State, he's been someone who's had a history of being very pro-Armenia, pro-Greece, pro-Cyprus, very critical of Turkey. Similar for Mike Waltz, the congressman who's now the National Security Advisor. So you have the factor of President Trump, but you also have the people that he's picking in key positions. And I think the fact that we have Secretary of State Rubio, in particular, who's had such a vocal history of being pro-Armenia and pro-Greece, pro-Cyprus, and being critical of Erdogan, I think that works to our advantage. And having people like that could also influence the way that Trump approaches things as well. So
I will continue
yeah.
this question. Biden last year recognized the Armenian genocide. In your opinion, is Trump is going to continue to keep that in force? Let's say, like you said, Rubio, some pro-Armenian officials is going to be around Trump. Is that position is not going to change, or at least not change?
Yeah, I think the issue of the Armenian genocide, it's a done deal. It's been recognized by Congress. It's been recognized by the president. There's no reason for a president to reverse that, especially since Congress,